The station hung in deep space like a silent scar. It was an alien military base, built from dark metal and sharp lines. Long corridors stretched without sound, and even machines moved quietly. Everyone who lived there knew one rule: do not go near her. She sat alone near the central observation hall. Her form was tall and still, wrapped in armor that looked old and damaged. Her skin was pale blue, marked with faint lines that glowed softly. Her eyes stayed forward, never following anyone who passed. When other species walked nearby, they slowed down. They lowered their eyes and whispered to each other. Some changed direction completely, choosing longer paths. Even armed officers felt their hands tighten on their weapons. Rumors lived on the station like a disease. They said she had destroyed entire fleets with a single command. Others said she could break minds without touching them. Some believed worlds had gone silent after hearing her name. No one knew which story was true, but everyone agreed on one thing. Where she sat, silence followed. The air around her felt heavier. Voices faded when she appeared. Laughter died before it could rise. Fear moved faster than sound. Guards were posted nearby, not to protect her, but to protect others from her. Their eyes never left her shape. Their fingers rested close to the trigger line. Then the station doors opened again. A human soldier walked in. He wore standard human armor, scratched and worn. No glowing symbols, no sharp edges. Just a simple suit built for survival. He carried himself easily, like someone used to danger. As he stepped inside, conversations paused. Several aliens noticed him and stiffened. Some wanted to warn him, but no one spoke. The human looked around the hall. He did not focus on weapons or walls. His eyes moved from face to face. He noticed the fear first, not her power. He followed the line of fear to its source, and saw her sitting alone, still silent, ignored. He stopped walking. Nearby guards tensed immediately. One of them raised a hand slightly, signaling him to turn back. Everyone expected the same thing: fear, hesitation, retreat. Instead, the human smiled. It was not loud or dramatic. Just a small laugh escaped him, calm and almost amused. A sound that did not belong in that place. Aliens froze. Some thought they had misheard. Others felt a strange shock run through their bodies. The human took a few steps forward. Guards lifted their weapons higher. Warning lights flickered faintly. He did not stop. He walked up to her, close enough to feel the cold presence everyone feared, close enough to die if the rumors were true. Then he sat down beside her. Not across, not behind cover, beside her. The station felt like it stopped breathing. Weapons fully raised now. Energy cells charged. Security alarms ready to scream. She did not move. Her eyes stayed forward, her expression unchanged. The human leaned back slightly, resting his arms on his knees, like someone waiting for a transport delay. No one understood what they were seeing. Aliens panicked quietly. Some officers shouted orders through private channels. Others prepared to fire. The guards closest to them shook. Their training told them to act. Their fear told them to run. The human spoke softly, not to challenge, not to threaten, just casual words meant for no one in particular. He treated her like a person, not a weapon, not a curse, not a legend. For the first time, her eyes shifted, slowly, carefully. They turned toward him. That single movement sent a wave of fear through the room. Weapons locked directly on target. Safety limits removed. No one knew what would happen next. No one dared move. And in that moment, with the entire station ready to explode into violence, one question echoed in every alien mind. Why is the human not afraid? Before the story goes further, if you enjoy slow build sci-fi stories like this, gently consider subscribing to this channel for more HFY journeys. The human kept sitting, calm in the center of fear, as the station waited to see if a legend would finally awaken. The tension in the hull pulled the station back into memory. For many of the aliens watching, fear was not new. They had felt it before, long before the human ever arrived. Years earlier, before the station even existed, she had been something else. Not a warning, not a shadow, but a project. The elders of several alien species remembered that time clearly. A time of war and desperation, when enemies pushed from all sides. and survival demanded terrible choices. They searched for a solution that did not exist yet. Something stronger than fleets. Something smarter than generals. Something that did not break under fear. That was when they found her kind. Her species was ancient, older than most known civilizations. They evolved in silence and pressure, their minds built to endure extremes. At first, they were allies, then subjects, then prisoners. Experiments followed, layers of genetic changes, mental conditioning, forced growth beyond natural limits. She survived all of it. Others did not. Her kind faded away one by one. Some died in labs. Some lost their minds. Some turned into things no longer alive in any real sense. In the end, only she remained, the last of her species, and the most altered. They called her a living weapon, not because she attacked, but because her presence alone changed everything. During the first test deployment, enemy forces collapsed without a single shot. Pilots froze in their seats. Commanders lost the ability to speak. Brains flooded with panic signals. Ancient instincts screaming danger. Even machines failed when organic minds broke down around them. Scientists could not explain it fully. Her mind emitted patterns. Not words. Not energy. But something deeper. Something that touched fear directly. After that, she was never used again. The cost was too high. Entire Allied crews suffered mental collapse just being near her. So they locked her away. Station after station. Base after base. Always guarded. Always isolated. She never spoke. Never asked questions. Never resisted. She simply existed. Over time, fear grew stronger than facts. Stories replaced reports. Legends replaced data. By the time she arrived at the station, no one remembered the truth clearly. Only the fear remained. Back in the present, the human soldier sat beside her, unaware of the full history, or maybe simply unconcerned. He watched her the way a soldier watches weather. Calm, observant, patient. He noted her stillness, the way her hands rested without tension, the steady rhythm of her breathing. No signs of aggression, no threat display. He spoke again, softly, about nothing important, about the quiet of the station, about how strange alien architecture felt compared to Earth. Aliens listening through monitors felt disbelief. Dominance signals filled the room. Invisible warnings, screaming danger. Every instinct told them to look away. The human did not. He did not lower his eyes. He did not tense his body. He did not show submission or challenge. He treated her like a normal presence. And that alone broke alien understanding. Among most species, dominance was everything. Posture, silence, distance. Fear kept order. Humans ignored all of it. The soldier leaned forward slightly, tilting his head as if curious. He waited for a reaction that never came. She did not move, did not speak, did not acknowledge him. Minutes passed, long enough for fear to grow unbearable. Guards whispered urgently to command. Psych teams warned of mental overload. Several aliens collapsed from stress responses. Still, the human stayed. He adjusted his position slightly, careful not to touch her, but close enough to show he was not afraid. He smiled again, faintly. Not mocking, not brave, just human. Then something changed. A small shift in the air, too subtle for instruments, but clear to every living mind present. Her presence sharpened, focused, slowly, almost gently. Her head turned. Her eyes moved from the empty void ahead, and finally settled on him. Every weapon locked at once, every alarm primed, and for the first time since she was created, she looked at a human. The moment her eyes met his, the human understood something important. She was not watching him like a predator. She was studying him. From the outside, he looked calm, but inside, his mind moved through old memories, not with fear, but with familiarity. He was born on a world that never promised safety. Human history was full of wars, disasters, and mistakes. Storms that destroyed cities, diseases that wiped out millions, weapons that turned entire lands into ash. Humans did not evolve in peace. They evolved inside fear, inside loss, inside chaos. From childhood, humans learned that pain was normal, that danger did not always come with warning, that survival meant moving forward even when afraid. The soldier had seen death long before he left Earth. Not legends, not stories, real people, friends who joked one day and never woke up the next. He had faced machines that hunted without emotion, creatures that screamed while killing, battlefields where the ground shook and the sky burned. Compared to those memories, she was quiet, still, almost gentle. That was why he did not panic. That was why he did not back away. He noticed the tension around them, the guard shaking, the officers shouting orders through silent channels. He understood fear well enough to recognize it, but he also knew something the aliens did not. Fear was not a stop sign for humans. It was a signal. He spoke again calmly, his voice low and steady, not directed at her as a threat, not as a command. He talked the way humans talk during long waits, sharing thoughts to fill the silence. He mentioned loss like it was weather, like it was something that passed through life without asking permission. He spoke of pain as something humans carried and kept moving with. Aliens listening felt confusion twist into discomfort. Pain was not something their cultures discussed openly. Fear was meant to be avoided, controlled, suppressed. Humans did none of that. The soldier explained fear without drama, without pride, as if it were a tool everyone had. He admitted that humans felt fear deeply, but they did not let it decide everything. That idea disturbed the alien observers. A species that felt fear and still acted was dangerous, unpredictable. She listened without interrupting. Her eyes never left him now. The panic field around her shifted, less sharp, more focused. For the first time, she was not broadcasting fear unconsciously. She was choosing where her attention went. The human noticed the change, not with excitement, but with quiet respect. He adjusted his posture slightly, making sure his movements stayed slow, non-threatening. He understood trauma even without knowing her past. Humans had learned that broken things did not always need fixing. Sometimes they needed presence. The aliens began to realize something terrifying. Humans did not respond to dominance the way other species did. They did not submit automatically. They did not challenge blindly. They observed, adapted, then acted. That emotional flexibility made them unstable by alien standards. And instability in war was often more dangerous than strength. Medical officers reported rising stress levels across the station, brains struggling to process what they were witnessing. A human calmly, sitting beside something designed to break minds. She studied his expressions closely now. Not his armor, not his weapons, but his face. She began to understand that fear did not rule him. It walked beside him. That realization was new and dangerous. Before anyone could react further, a sharp sound cut through the station. An alarm screamed to life. Red lights flooded the hall. Emergency signals echoed through every level. Something was coming. The alarm did not scream like a warning. It screamed like fear. Red light washed over the hall. Sirens echoed through metal corridors. The calm silence of a station shattered instantly. Alien officers froze where they stood. Some dropped control pads. Others stared at the ceiling as if hoping the threat was not real. Data streams flooded command rooms. An enemy fleet had dropped out of jump space. Too close. Too fast. At the same time, internal systems failed. Power levels dipped without warning. Gravity fluctuated in several sectors. Security doors locked and unlocked at random. Panic spread faster than orders. The alien chain of command broke under pressure. Voices overlapped. Commands contradicted each other. Fear flooded their minds. The presence of her did not help. Stress responses spiked wildly. Some crew collapsed where they stood. The human soldier stood up instantly. No hesitation. No waiting for permission. His training moved faster than fear. He scanned the room in seconds. Threats, exits, broken systems. He spoke sharply now. Clear words. Short commands. His voice cut through chaos like a blade. Not loud, but certain. He moved toward a control panel, ripping open an access plate with bare hands. Ignoring sparks and heat, aliens stared in disbelief. Humans were not meant to interface with alien systems. But he adapted, guessing, learning, correcting. Behind him, she stood slowly. For the first time on the station, she moved without being forced, without being escorted. She watched him work, hands bleeding slightly, breathing steady. Enemy fire hit the outer shields. The station shook violently. Several aliens screamed. The human did not look up. He rerouted power manually, redirected failing systems, bought time. Security reports flooded in. An internal riot had broken out. Crew, overwhelmed by panic, had turned on each other. The human grabbed a fallen weapon, not firing, but using it to block, to shield others. He placed himself between frightened aliens and danger, taking hits meant for them. She watched closely. Every movement, every choice. This was not dominance. This was protection. Something inside her shifted. Enemy boarding signals lit up across the station. Docking clamps began to engage. The human cursed quietly, not in anger, but focus. He turned toward her, meeting her eyes again. He did not command her, did not beg, did not fear. He simply spoke, as if asking an equal. That moment mattered more than any order ever given. She stepped forward. The fear field changed instantly. No longer wild, no longer uncontrolled. It focused outward, directed, sharp. Boarding pods froze mid-approach. Enemy soldiers collapsed inside their armor, their minds overwhelmed before they could fire a single shot. The station felt her power, fully for the first time. Not as a curse, but as a shield. Together they moved. The human guiding systems and people. She holding the line against the enemy fleet. Power stabilized. Riots ended as panic drained away. Enemy ships drifted helplessly. Minutes later, silence returned. Emergency lights dimmed. Systems normalized. Breathing slowed. Aliens slowly looked up, afraid of what they would see. They saw her standing beside the human soldier. Not isolated, not restrained, standing with him. Fear changed shape in that moment, and nothing on the station would ever feel the same again. Silence returned slowly, not the heavy silence of fear, but the careful silence after survival. The human lowered his weapon and stepped back, breathing steady, eyes scanning for any last danger. She remained beside him, tall and still, but something about her presence had changed. Aliens across the hall watched from behind cover, from doorways, from damaged control stations. For the first time, they were not sure who they feared more. The human turned slightly toward her, not too fast, not too close. He spoke again, softly. Like before, he thanked her, simply, without praise or ceremony. That was what happened. A sound filled the space, not through air, but through thought. Her voice did not echo. It arrived gently, carefully shaped so fragile minds would not break. I was never evil. Several aliens gasped. Others collapsed in shock. No one had ever heard her communicate before. Her presence shifted again. The fear softened, turned inward. Controlled. I was created to end wars. She continued. They changed me until fear became my shadow. Images flowed into the minds of those nearby. Cold rooms, bright lights, endless testing. I did not destroy because I wished to. I destroyed because they placed me where fear already lived. She showed them isolation, years without voices, stations without names, guards who never met her eyes. I learned silence because silence was safer. The human listened without moving, without interrupting. When she finished, he nodded slowly. Humans had a word for this kind of pain. Trauma. He spoke carefully, explaining without judgment. The humans did not lock away what frightened them. They faced it, studied it, lived beside it until fear lost its power. Danger was not something to hide from. It was something to understand. She considered his words. Truly considered them. This is why you were not afraid, she said. He did not deny it. He simply admitted the truth. Fear followed humans everywhere, but it never walked alone. Respect formed between them. Not trust, not affection, but recognition. Aliens listening felt a deeper unease. Humans were not fearless. They were worse. They accepted fear and moved forward anyway. That made them unpredictable and incredibly dangerous. Command channels lit up quietly. Council members, watching from distant systems, exchanged looks. A decision had to be made, not about her, but about humans. The signal went out across the station. The council would convene immediately. Emergency authority invoked. As guards slowly lowered their weapons, One thought spread through every alien mind. The future of the galaxy was about to change. The council chamber came alive across the station. Holographic forms appeared one by one. Tall figures, white shapes, glowing minds made visible through light and code. These were the leaders of many worlds, species that ruled fleets and systems, beings who rarely agreed on anything. Now they all watched the same image, a human soldier standing calmly in a damaged hull, and her beside him. No restraints, no distance. Fear moved through the council like a slow poison. One voice spoke first, sharp and cold. Humans are a mistake. They disrupt natural order. They ignore dominant signals. They approach what should be avoided. Another council member responded with anger. If he had not acted, the station would be gone. The fleet would have broken through. We would be counting the dead. Arguments rose quickly. Some demanded the human be removed immediately. Others demanded all humans be banned from shared space. A few suggested using humans as tools. That idea caused a ripple of discomfort. The human did not react to any of it. He stood where he was told to stand. Hands relaxed. Posture open. He did not bow. He did not challenge. He simply waited. The council turned its attention to her. Many still struggled to look directly at her form. They asked why she defended him. Why she acted when she had remained silent for so long. She answered without hesitation. Because he saw me. Not as a weapon. Not as a threat. Not as a failure. He sat beside fear. She said, without trying to control it. Some council members reacted with alarm. Others with deep thought. A senior voice questioned the human directly. Do humans seek power? Do they intend to dominate this alliance? The human answered honestly. Without preparation, without strategy, humans did not seek dominance. They survived it. They lived under storms, under rulers, under disasters and wars. They adapted, endured, moved forward. That answer unsettled the chamber more than any threat could. A species that did not crave power, but survived under it was hard to control, harder to predict. She spoke again, her voice steady now, clearer than before. They isolated me because they feared what I could do. They created a weapon and then feared its existence. She turned her gaze toward the council. They did the same with humans. That comparison struck deeply. She explained that humans were dangerous, not because of strength, but because of choice. They could feel fear and still protect others. They could face pain without breaking. They could sit beside monsters and ask nothing in return. Silence spread across the chamber. The council withdrew into private channels. Debates grew heated. Votes shifted back and forth. Some saw opportunity. Others saw disaster waiting to happen. The human remained still, accepting that the decision was no longer his. She remained beside him, not as a shield, but as a witness. Finally, the council returned, their voices slower, more cautious. The verdict was not ready. Too much had changed too quickly. They declared a delay. Time to observe. Time to reconsider alliances. No punishment. No approval. Just waiting. As the connection faded, one truth remained clear to everyone watching. The galaxy had noticed humanity, and fear would never mean the same thing again. The final decision arrived without ceremony. No celebration. No loud approval. Humans were officially allowed within shared space. Not welcomed, not trusted, but permitted. To the council, it was a compromise. To the station, it felt like a quiet earthquake. Aliens watched the human move through corridors with careful eyes. Some stepped aside. Some whispered. Others studied him like a new force of nature. Fear did not vanish. It changed shape. They were no longer only afraid of her. They were uneasy around humans. A species that could sit beside fear without trying to kill it, without worshiping it, without running from it. That was new and deeply unsettling. She remained on the station, no longer confined, no longer surrounded by silent guards. Freedom felt strange, heavy, almost dangerous. The human found her again near the observation hall, the same place where everything had shifted. He did not announce himself, did not ask permission. He walked up slowly and sat beside her once more, in the same calm way, as if this had always been normal. Other aliens noticed immediately. Some froze. Others turned away. Fear still lived in the air, but it did not control the space anymore. She watched the stars beyond the station glass, worlds moving quietly through darkness. "You will be feared," she said, not as a warning, but a statement. The human smiled slightly, not proud, not concerned. "Fear never stopped humans," he replied. "They had built cities in storms, lived under burning suns, fought wars they did not fully understand. Fear was familiar, almost comforting in its honesty. Aliens observing from a distance struggled to understand this. To them, fear was a signal to retreat, to hide, to obey. To humans, fear was information, something to work with. She considered that quietly. "You do not conquer with strength," she said. "No," the human answered. "They conquered with presence, with staying when others left, with sitting where no one else dared." That truth spread slowly across the station, through reports, through stories, through silent observation. Humans did not arrive with fleets first. They arrived with people, people who talked, who listened, who stood between danger and strangers without asking for reward. Aliens still kept their distance, still flinched when emotions ran high. But now, when fear rose, they looked for the humans, the ones who did not run. She felt something new growing inside her. Not loyalty, not affection, purpose. For the first time, she was not a weapon waiting to be used, or a threat waiting to be contained. She was a choice. The human stood and prepared to leave, duty calling him elsewhere. Before he walked away, she spoke one last thought. "Others like me exist." The human paused, not surprised, just focused. Weapons, experiments, broken creations left behind across the galaxy. He nodded once, as if already planning. Humans had a habit of going where they were not expected, especially when fear lived there. As he disappeared into the corridor, she remained by the stars, no longer alone, even in silence. Somewhere far beyond the station, new eyes were already watching humanity, measuring, calculating, and wondering what happens next. When the ones who sit beside fear decide to stand up again,